Oh, actually, Ron, David Lang has his hand up. Let me.
Already, I haven't even said anything stupid yet. David has a question.
David, your line is actually open. You need to unmute on your end.
Sorry about that. I meant to just type a message, but Bob might not make it because he's in a place with bad reception.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I meant to just type that. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. Let's call the determined force here.
Okay, very good. The agenda tonight, I'm sure we'll not see too much that you hadn't seen before. We will see a couple of layouts, possible layouts for the sites. I mean, for the actual events. There's going to be a slight modification for the races that are shorter than 5K, and we'll go over those and the possibilities. But otherwise, the slides that you'll see tonight are very similar to the ones we've done in previous years. We'll have some specific to long distance running and fall festival, some generic slides about qualifiers and Special Olympics Maryland normal kind of agenda items. And we'll also have towards the end, we will have we have the forms, the medical, the volunteer form, and all the other things that are required of the coaches. So we have, I'm not sure how long this will take, hopefully less than an hour, certainly no longer than an hour, as we have another webinar following this. So we'll just get moving forward. The events for this year, similar, more than similar, exact, same as events we've run in the past. 800-meter unified and traditional, 1,500-meter run, along with unified, 3K and 5K. The next two slides, you're going to see two differences for the courses this year. The reason for the change is primarily to take advantage of the pavilion. I'm going to try to move my cursor and not make people dizzy. Right down here, there's a pavilion on Mount St. Mary's where we have electricity, we have cover, and it is closer to the other activities that are going on for Fall Festival. So if you disregard how shaky my hand was when I looked or when I traced the course in blue, the 5K is exactly the same, or is intended to be exactly the same as we've had in the past. In order to do that and have the start and finish there, we have had to make adjustments, slight adjustments to the 3K and 1,500, which are in red. The bigger significant change is to the 800. This layout that you see here, and we'll adjust this and get some accuracy when we go out there and specifically lay out the course, is if there is a possibility, when I talked to Melissa Anger, who does flag football, there was a possibility that flag football, instead of being in this area over here, may move across this highway and play over here. When I spoke to her today, she was less confident that that might happen, but if that does happen, this will be sort of the course for the 800. If it doesn't, and we have the same layout for the footballs we've had in the past, then our 800 will look more like this. We will probably know that. I'm not sure when we'll hear back from Mount St. Mary's. The likelihood is our races and our courses will look like this, and we'll get those measurements out and identify the courses exactly on Thursday or Friday before the Fall Festival. But we did go out there a few weeks ago, measured, and the fact that we'd be able to have the course starting and finishing at this pavilion will be a big benefit to us. We won't have the as this road is blocked out, we won't have this parking area anyway, so we'll have everything closer to the rest of the activities for Fall Festival. Okay, the training and qualifying for the Fall Festival for long distance running. Athletes and partners must compete in 2 qualifiers, no difference in the past. 1 qualifier must be a sanctioned multi-program qualifier. And I think as of the moment, the only one I saw out there, I'm not sure, now I can't remember if it was Howard County or Montgomery County. We have it in a further slide. And I know you both run qualifiers in the past, so hopefully we'll have those 2 qualifiers. And the second qualifier can be a sanctioned in-house qualifier, oftentimes run at the end of a practice. We just ask that these events be run as official events with officials in place, scoring the athlete, and score time must be recorded. Again, as in the past, each athlete or team, if it's a unified team for the 800 or 1500, they must participate in the event that they're planning to run at the games. There are a number of 5K races in the Baltimore area. The tunnel run in September, I don't remember the date off the top of my head. I think it's mid-September. There's just a number of runs available out there for 5Ks. But any of those mainstream races of matching or greater distance will be considered a sanctioned event. As in the past, any competition above and beyond those 2 are obviously strongly encouraged. Or start that sentence all over again. There is no governing body for cross country. We'll use the IAAF as rules for athletics. National governing body we'll use is USA Track and Field, ATF rules for track and field. And Mike, help me, I don't think we have specific Special Olympics rules, anything above and beyond what's in the rules for track and field. The new rules in March. Yes.
The only additional rules are the ones that are in this packet, and and that should be not March.
These up on this slide right here.
Yeah, that's August. It was updated in August of 2016, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. And actually, you identified that as a slide I need to correct. Okay. But these are the date being wrong, but these are the uniform and attire rules. No jewelry, you can wear a watch. Must wear athletic shoes, athletic shorts, no khakis, no jeans, the normal attire that you would typically run in for an athletic event. If you, to the extent that your athletes want to, you can either, they can choose to run barefoot if they like. All races will start with a mass start for all divisions. Every event will start with a mass start. We will open the course earlier in the day as we mark or as we walk the course for your athletes to see exactly where the hills are, where they'll be running. So that will be available to you in the early part of the day. We'll have spectator space available at various points along the course. But those spectators may not pace your athlete, may not run with the athlete. The only people who can run with athletes are if they are entered as a unified partner, unified pair in either the 800 or the 1500. For those 2 races, the pair must finish within 5 seconds of each other, and the combined time of both runners will be the score for that event. They may touch or hold hands. However, one partner may not carry, pull the other. That would be a DQ. This slide, and you'll see this slide again because it's very important, and we had a couple of issues this summer, but let me emphasize again, no athlete or volunteer may participate in any manner in a Special Olympics Maryland program without a valid and current medical form or volunteer application. No exceptions to this, and I know folks on this line and any webinar that you see for Special Olympics pre-competition or pre-season webinars, you'll see this slide. It's just very important, and you're going to see it later on today as an additional slide later on. We just need to make sure that every athlete, every volunteer has a valid current medical or volunteer application on file.
And Ron, just to clarify for folks, actually, as you were saying that, it hit me one point of misinterpretation. The Special Olympics Maryland program, that includes all local programs as well. So it's not saying you can't, they can only come to a state event if they have a medical. They can't participate in training or anything else at your local program because you are a Special Olympics Maryland program. Insurance won't kick in, all sorts of other things. So just want to be 100% clear on that. Thanks.
Yeah, not only it's for the safety of all, for the state program, for the local program. So thank you, Mike. Here are registration deadlines. We moved after the area directors meeting in August because of so many school systems starting after Labor Day. The training registration deadline got moved a little bit into September. September 11th is the deadline for your roster must be entered in GMS, all athletes, partners, coaches, volunteers who are participating. With giving you a little bit of time lag between getting those things in and having the actual paperwork in the SOMD office. The last date for missing forms to be submitted is 9/21, September 21st, 2017. Your athletes, your partners, coaches, your paperwork needs to be valid through the 21st of October, which is Fall Sports Festival. So it must be at headquarters by this date. It must be valid through the Sports Festival. It must not expire on that day before. So in addition to that, those things, all coaches, this is head coaches and assistant coaches, must have a concussion certification completed and submitted to headquarters by this date. And coaches must have their coach certification for their specific sport. For long distance running, that's athletics. By October the 5th, the competition registration deadline, delegation members, team rosters, and events must be entered in GMS. Anyone who is not entered in GMS by that day will be deleted from these games. Okay, coach requirements, same as for all sports. They must have completed and have on file a valid Class A volunteer application and associated background screening, protective behavior screening, and online concussion training. And for head coaches, a completion of a coach sport certification specific to athletics. And all of the above are valid for 3 years. If anyone on the line has a little bit of question about your dates, send me an email and we'll flush those out. I think I checked for everyone here. Everybody's good, but just in case, if you have any questions, let me know. Protective behaviors. Not only This is not a Special Olympics Maryland rule. This is Special Olympics International in North America. All volunteers, coaches, unified partners, and sports volunteers must have an up-to-date protective behavior certification prior to starting their volunteer role. That's not prior to Fall Sports Festival. That's before you start your first practice. In the packet on these slides, in which you'll all get a copy along with your areas, you'll have a live link for the protective behavior. It's free, it takes about 10 minutes, and the evidence, the passing certificate or certification must be submitted to headquarters. I think those come automatically to the headquarters. Volunteer email notifications go to Rachel Maddock, that's rmaddock@somd.org. Concussion certification, again, required by Special Olympics International and Special Olympics North America. And this slide has been coming up on 2 years. All coaches must have completed concussion training prior to starting coaching. That's not just your head coaches, that's all coaches. Here's a couple of links for concussion training, both online courses, one from CDC, one from NFHS. As of the current time, we do not have the ability or authority to approve additional courses. Both of these courses are online and free, pretty easy to get through. So you'll need to submit your evidence of completion and certificate to email address up there, which is coaches@somd.org. So we're not automatically notified of that, so you'll need to send that email address. If you lose track of that, you can send it to me or your regional sports director. I apologize for that. Okay, a couple of new slides, things that you may not have seen before. I'm not going to read through each one of these. You will, you'll get a copy of these slides. But this first slide on the coaching code of conduct, the point of emphasis here is we want to respect everyone's rights. We want to treat everyone fairly. Again, coaches' code of conduct are proposed, and just summarizing, the highlight of this slide is we expect, and you should expect it as well, that we act professionally towards everyone, towards our athletes, towards our assistant coaches, towards our volunteers. And the third slide. Again, you can read through at your leisure when you get these slides, but the highlight is, if you fail to operate under this code, there will be consequences. Okay, qualifying for state tournament. Make sure you get all your training and registration requirements and deadlines. Coaches' certifications must be in, and your athletes must compete at a minimum of 2 sanctioned qualifiers. One must be a multi-area qualifier, and a minimum of at least one other qualifier, and that can be an in-house qualifier. But again, this is just a minimum. You certainly want your athletes to have as much experience and have as much fun running long distances as I do. So please, if you can get your athletes out to other events, that would be fantastic. Okay, as you've probably seen in area memos, if they got down to coaches, but if not, over the summer, just prior to summer games, we hired 2 new regional directors, Kendall Zeswitz for the Eastern region, Kristen Mullins for Central Maryland. So if you have any questions that I can't answer for things for your region, feel free to contact them. You're certainly free to contact me or Melissa Anger, who's Western Maryland Regional Sports Director. If it's a long distance running or sports specific for athletics or races, feel free to contact me. Okay, the remainder of the slides, and we're not going to go through all the forms. You know, they're just there as a reference point. Oh, I see this slide again. Let's read this aloud again. I'm not going to read all the slides, but this is important. No athlete or volunteer may participate in any manner in a Special Olympics Maryland program without a valid and current medical form or volunteer applications, and there are no exceptions. For coaches on the line, work with your area leadership to make sure that all our athletes have proper forms completed, and you know, work with your area leadership, or if you need to contact me or one of the regional directors to make sure that our athletes and volunteers are up to date, please feel free to take that opportunity to email me, give me a call. Be happy to look those things up for you. Following pages, you're going to see some of these forms. For the athlete medical, they must be completely filled out, including but not limited to first 3 pages. They must have all the information legible, including the diagnosis, and must have all 3 required signatures, including that of the medical professional with a date on it. If we can't see the date, it will be returned or for correction. Once you have your athlete, take your medical. All these medicals and all these forms are good for 3 years. Here is a copy of the medical, page 1. I think we have all 5 of the pages here. I'm not going to go through any of them actually, but you will have access to this for your athletes when you get the form and through your area leadership. Okay, volunteers, same thing. Every volunteer must have a valid and current volunteer application prior to start of training. So if you have helpers out there, assistant coaches, they must have the volunteer background check, which will include a criminal background screening for every volunteer. We will use the information provided on the screen. They must pass the background screening as well in order to participate in Special Olympics. Point of emphasis, to be considered valid, the volunteer application must be complete, including but not limited to both pages, all necessary information, and especially have all required signatures. If your volunteer is a minor, he or she must also complete the volunteer minor reference form and get the signed references from 2 people with whom they are not related. No parent, but a teacher, a coach, someone who can provide that reference who's not a family member. Again, volunteer applications are also valid for 3 years from the date of the screening. Okay, here's a copy of the Special Olympics Maryland volunteer application, page 1 and page 2. And as I just referred to, this is a copy of the student minor reference form for your, if you have volunteers or helpers who are younger than 18 years old. Okay, 4, as you go through every practice, you must please have with you and be familiar with the first report of accident or incident. Please, this should be completed immediately following an injury to any program participant or spectator, or if there's any property damage to the facility. Should any incident occur immediately after the injured person has been treated, the coach or the program director should complete the form and submit it to the individual listed at the bottom of the form, as well as your area director. We have a copy of that form as well. And as noted on the side, this form may also be used to report behavioral issues or violations of the codes of conduct to your area leadership. Again, you see this slide probably at every pre-season webinar, but coach sports certification, again, all head coaches must have a Special Olympics sports certification valid through the state championship for that sport. So that's through October 21st of 2017. These certifications are valid for 3 years. We have, on the following slide, we have some examples of courses you can take. In addition to coach sport certification, if we have a new coach with no previous Special Olympics sports certification, they must also complete coaching Special Olympics athletes or the principles of coaching. And again, this applies to all coaches, not just head coaches. Okay, here's a list of online coaches training via ASAP. And probably 20 minutes ago, I remember what ASAP stood for. I'm sure education is in there somewhere.
American Sports Education Program.
Thank you. Down at the bottom here is coaching Special Olympics athletes, coaching essentials. There's a number of things that will apply for both our track athletics and our cross-country or long-distance running coaches. The left-hand column, or on the right-hand side, the cost to the left is the standard cost. Special Olympics Maryland will subsidize that amount in the center, which will result in the net cost over on the right-hand side. What is an approved course of development experience? I'm not sure, probably not for this fall, for this season. We'll probably, it's my goal to get live sport training for athletics, hopefully next March or April. But if live sports training count, would be sports-specific examples, online sports-specific training, ASAP, oh here it is, American Sport Education Program, online or live courses. As I mentioned on the previous slide, we do provide some financial support, reimbursement for the ASAP online courses. And here's a number of other ways you can get your sport-specific coaching. Again, if you have other things that you've taken, other experiences that you've had, other classes or either online or classroom or live training, and it's not listed here in these slides, give us a call, let us know. We are absolutely open to new ideas and for new approvals for sports-specific coaching. Another slide on approved course of development experience. Very similar to things that I've said earlier in this, and actually this may be identical to the previous slide. Apologies for that. And we've reached the end of the slideshow. So I'm going to put an actual slide up there. I'm I'm sort of open for any type of questions. We don't have that many folks here on the line. I don't know if John, if you have any questions, or if David, you're still in line, or Bob dropped in. If there's things you'd like to chat about, feel free to do it now. If there's any other questions or topics I may have missed, Mike.
No, I think
I'm presuming nobody.
Let's see, John Follett has his hand raised. And John, I'm trying to unmute you. You should have just gotten a pin sent to you as well, so that I can undo your line. Should be just a 2-character code and a #. And Bob Stack is listening in on the phone, according to a message from David earlier.
Okay. So waiting for John, are we?
Here he goes. Okay. John, you should be open. Your line should be open now.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. I didn't see anything about dates for qualifiers. Did you give us dates? I thought you had mentioned a couple of names of qualifiers.
I wonder if I inadvertently I'm going to bring that up, John. I have that someplace else.
Okay.
I had it on the slide, and as I was going through these this afternoon, I'm wondering if I inadvertently deleted that slide. Oops, I'm not connected.
Okay, well,
I'm not.
What really confused me is I thought that we had sent in a sanction form. In fact, I have a copy of it right here dated July 18th that we were asking to host a qualifier on September the 23rd.
We only had the one sanction form that I saw. I'm not logged on to our network right now. I'll verify that. Where was that going to be, John?
It was going to be in Leitersburg, which is just north of Hagerstown.
Okay.
Here in Washington County.
Yeah. I will check on your job first thing tomorrow morning. I will get that out. I'm pretty sure I only saw the one qualifier when I looked this afternoon still.
Okay. Well,
so if you have a copy of that sanction form, do you have a copy?
Yes, I do. I thought our person had sent it in. I had asked her to, but I can get back in contact with her because do I send it to you or do I send it to Melissa?
You can send it to me.
Okay. Well, wait a second. Let me see if I can see who this actually, because there was somebody, Sarah Holmes. I don't know who Sarah is.
Or do I?
Is that who it was sent to?
No, it was sent, the copy of the form, Mary Gorman, who was our person from here in Washington County, sent me a copy of the form and somebody named Sarah Holmes. I don't know who Sarah is.
Okay.
I don't know who Sarah. I think she might have hit somebody wrong on her email distribution.
Oh, so instead of it going to the person at the state, it went to Sarah Holmes.
That would be.
No wonder I didn't hear anything back from you guys. Okay, so I will send this to you, Ron.
Yeah, send it to me, John. What I will do tonight or tomorrow morning is I will include, and I must have inadvertently deleted that slide. I will put all the qualifiers, not just for long distance running, but all the qualifiers we have up till this time. I know I had it in, and I must have inadvertently deleted it this afternoon.
Okay,
so
all right.
And I'll send it not only to the folks on this line, but all the areas, because I know everybody will want to run that.
Right.
Running that qualifier as well.
So okay. Well, I'll have to figure out how to send what she has sent me to you. Vicky's not here right now to help me, and my daughter's in Florida, so I'll have to get this figured out.
you know, at the very worst at the beginning, if you can just take if you have a smartphone, you can take a picture of it, and send it to my cell. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll get something figured out.
Okay.
The problem is my new computer. I don't have the latest and greatest version of Outlook or whatever it is. So maybe I can. I might be able to put it to the cloud, and then you can get it from that. We'll see.
Okay.
So I'll get something figured out.
Well, I mean, I'd be happy to find out who this Sarah, whoever it is, and call her and demand that we get our sanction form that she's holding.
Well, I'm looking at her address now, and it's just an AOL address, so it's not a SOMD address.
Okay.
So she must have sent it to the wrong person.
I've done that for myself, so that's not a big
deal. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll try and get it figured out later on. And,
David has his hand raised as well. David, there you go. You're unmuted.
Hi. Yeah. I think Ron, Pam might have talked to you. She's interested in having with this kind of running, or rather a walking group. But are they already existing? I guess they're like already like a 15-minute walk or 800 walk.
Well, I mean, I did talk to Pam last week, and John, for your benefit, she was talking about she had athletes who were, getting older. I think a fair number of them were athletes with Down syndrome who the distances and the pace was getting more and more difficult as these folks are getting older. I mean, in my mind, and we can certainly discuss this further, but just through our natural divisioning but the way we do divisioning, I mean, there's no reason why these athletes aren't accommodated, just naturally through their pace. There is no through cross country, there is no power walking event, and we certainly don't want to impose power walking rules, from track and field on top of a cross country event. So, I mean, help me, David. Is there a reason why they couldn't be accommodated in the normal divisioning kind of thing, where if their pace is, maybe her question was to run them or walk them in a separate event other than the mass start, and maybe I misunderstood that. Is that, you think, what she was asking about? Or is that what you were more interested in?
I don't want to speak for her, but my own opinion would be if there was I know it would add time, but let's just say there was one distance where there was a start that was a walk start. Let's say there was 2 heats of the 800, and I do understand, like, you're not going to say, oh, your both feet are off the ground for 5 seconds, so you're, disqualified or anything like that. But we'd say, well, these would be the walkers. So maybe even having a division where people are probably averaging 20-minute miles or 18 to 20-minute miles.
Yeah, actually, I'm not opposed to that. I look at their schedule, and if it works out that we have 2 heats, 2 mass starts, if you will, of the 800. One, and maybe that we don't cut it off by walkers versus runners, but we cut it off by a time that's more in line with what a walker would do versus what a runner would do. Because even your walkers, if there's a bunch of adrenaline and they want to take a few running steps, or every 10 yards run for another 15 or 20 yards, I wouldn't want to stop them from doing that.
Right.
But maybe we can division such that 20 minutes, however that works out. I'm not opposed to
16, 20. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I think that would work. I mean, if we have the time for it, I think that would help. And I think the benefit of doing that versus saying, well, why doesn't everybody just mass start and where you land, is that would, keep people from feeling like they have to sort of run out at the beginning, kind of thing. So I think that would accommodate, from a competition standpoint, my opinion is that would accommodate the needs, especially in and I think from our program, we were talking about having a training where the walkers are training at the same time, but in a little you know, with a small, different group kind of thing. But I think that would accommodate everybody's needs.
Okay, we will certainly
I don't know if
look
she
into that.
had some other thing in mind, but I mean,
I don't
certainly
think so.
don't envision anyone sitting there with a flag going up if somebody takes, you know, 2 steps off the ground.
Yeah, we
so,
talked about that specifically. I mean, there's no.
Yeah, and I'm not sure she knows the, you know, the intricacies, let's say, of track and field and, you know, USATF rules versus, like if she has a concept, I don't know that she knows that there's actually rules that she said. So I think that would be great, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. If Mike, if there's no other questions, give everybody back 15 minutes and get we can get lined up for the next webinar. I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me tonight, and I will get as soon as I get this sanction form from John in any manner that he can deliver it to me. We'll get these slides out, and included in that slide deck will be an updated slide with all the qualifiers for all the fall sports events.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, thank you, everybody.